Welcome to the Holly Hibbard Leadership Podcast, your go-to source for actionable insights, practical advice, and inspiring stories to help you lead with faith-filled purpose at work and at home. If you're looking to equip, empower, and encourage yourself to thrive in an ever-changing world, you're in the right place. I'm Holly Hibbard, and with over 20 years of experience as a science teacher, leadership coach, entrepreneur, and relationship mentor, I understand the challenges and growth opportunities that come with pursuing your passion. Whether you're chasing career goals, taking entrepreneurial leaps, or finally reaching for those long-postponed ambitions, I'm here to help. So let's get comfortable having uncomfortable conversations and explore ways you can lead your family, lead your life, and find your calling with intention and faith. Hello, friends. Welcome back to the show. It's Holly. And if you're new here, thanks so much to the person who told you about this podcast. I'm grateful to them. And I'm grateful for you for tuning in and giving the Leadership Podcast a good old try. I am in a mode right now where I want to tell stories. I want to share with you what I have been doing in my life in recent months, recent weeks, couple years. And I thought this would be a good time for me to talk about the steps I'm taking to get back on track. Now, this is a leadership podcast, so if you are tuning into this thinking that every episode was going to be about how you could lead other people, well, that's not going to be every episode. To me, personal leadership means that you are owning your side of the fence. You are looking at where you can be the most impactful with your life, not only for others and the way that you give, the way that you evoke the best from people, but also for yourself. And I know that when I have had seasons in my life where I feel stuck, there is a phrase that I say to myself that is something along the lines of, go back to the basics. Go back to the basics. But I had to know for me what those basics are and my intention behind taking those actions. I know that when I feel stuck or off track, it could look like anything from I'm procrastinating too much, or I'm easily distracted, or my creativity has taken a dive, or I feel bored doing the things that I've been doing for my career or for my hobbies. There's just a lull. And to shake things up, it's funny because for me, what works is going back to the basics or a baseline. And personal leadership, first for me, stems from, do I know what my baseline is? What does it feel like in the different bodies that we all have? And if you don't know what I'm talking about, to personally lead your own life, to be the leader of your own life, it's important to be in tune with your emotional body, your mental body, your spiritual body, and of course, your physical body. And I think it's really easy to fall into the trap of thinking only about the physical and wanting to get our physical type, shape, body, etc., back on track, quote unquote, but we forget about the other components. And so for me, when I say get back on track and going back to basics, here is what it has looked like for me in recent months. So my life went through a number of changes. I highlighted that in episode 28 with the passing of my mom and her illness for a year and a half with cancer. And prior to that, and also during that time, I was in a new relationship, which then turned into marriage and family life that also involved moving and relocating, that involved merging families. That is also a challenge. Having a wedding is a challenge. A new home is a challenge. There's a lot of challenges, plus my mom's illness. And there were so many moments where I was hitting a lull in different areas and I felt stuck. I might have felt like my home or my relationship were heading in the positive direction, but maybe my ability to stay in touch with my friends was falling to the wayside. Or I would get really committed to my friendships and my relationship, but then my health would fall to the wayside. Or suddenly I can't focus and my mental health was slipping, where I felt overly distracted. I didn't feel as creative. And so just know that your version of feeling off track or feeling stuck could look like a variety of things, but you've got to be present to where you are being impacted. Again, are you being impacted in your mental body, like anxiety, stress, thoughts, obsessing about things? Are you feeling stuck or off track in your emotional body? Is there an unusual amount of sadness than what you typically feel, or a less amount of joy than what you might have in certain circumstances? Your spiritual body, if you are a person of faith like me, and I believe in God and Jesus Christ and my creator, and you may believe the same or something entirely different, if I get away from time for me in the word and in scripture, or even just going to a service or listening to a sermon, I can feel far away from my reason for being here and born on earth. And that can leave me feeling a little bit lost and off track. And then, of course, the physical body. Over time, with the amount of chronic stress I was experiencing, I was noticing it was impacting my focus, but mainly it was impacting my sleep, my ability to even set time aside to make sure that I was getting enough physical activity, albeit a lot of times I was eating well, sometimes I wasn't, sometimes I'm drinking a ton of water, sometimes I'm not, and it just goes all over the place. So I wanted to start today by saying, again, personal leadership is about acknowledging how are those 4 areas of you doing right now? Do you feel off track in your emotions, your mindset, your spirituality, and or your physical body? So when my mom passed, this is now about 2 months ago, I knew that I was going to go through the stages of grief, and I'm still very much in the stage of grief. For example, this week, anger has shown up quite a bit. And I say that with a certain tone of voice because otherwise I can't be angry about it. And I will be, and I will feel that. And, but then there are times where there was immense sadness and worry and stress and a longing for her, even when she was still here and alive. And oh boy, that's a lot. And you know what wasn't on my radar? How I was doing. I knew that I was slowly falling apart. Less and less time with my friends, less time focused on church events for me, or less time focused on planning a proper family day with my family, or a date night, or time at the gym. And when my mom passed, in the midst of my grief, I had to think to myself, okay, I can't fix all the things right at once. I know my emotional body, because of grief, is going to be all over the place, and I can't really control that entirely. But let's see what I can do for the other 3 areas: my spirituality, my mindset, and my physical body. I felt like I had a little more traction. And so these are the steps that I took. I first recognized what I had some control over and can impact directly by my own efforts, and what I can't. From there, I looked at each area and I chose a small thing that I can either bring back to my life or add to my life that was incredibly doable. So, for example, with the physical component, I'm in my mid-40s. All transparency, been reading a lot about perimenopause lately. And I'm just learning about the importance of the number of steps I take every day, and the importance of muscle mass, not just muscle mass for women, by the way, but for everyone in terms of longevity. Enough protein, fiber, daily movement, and walking is a big component of that, and having muscle. And so my commitment to myself was, let's just start by getting 10,000 steps a day. Now, I was already around 7,000 steps a day, so that extra 3,000 was not going to be that much of a leap. So for you, if it's something lower than that, let's say you average about 4,000 steps a day, maybe don't aim for 10 right out the gate, but set a realistic goal. From there, after I had a few days in of 10,000 steps a day. Okay, I'm figuring out creative ways to get my steps in and getting it done. I then decided, okay, I'm going to the gym, and when I go, I am focusing on muscle building activity. I'm not going to get caught up in doing all these crazy exercises and compound things. And if you know what I mean, then you know what I mean. And if you don't, that's okay. But rather than focus on the intensity, I'm there to focus on strength. So I've got my step stuff and my strength stuff. And that combined with ensuring that I have good vitamins every day and I don't skip vitamins and my minerals, that's been the core 3 for my physical wellness, that I've allowed myself to get back on track. Also, something that happened with that is the best time of day for me to go to the gym is very early, because I'm learning that the later in the day it gets, I do not go. I won't go. I hate it. It's too busy, too crowded. So I have created a habit to be in the gym by 6:30 in the morning. It's done. It's out of the way. It's not that crowded. And yeah, I still cringe thinking about it, but it's also forced me to go to bed on time. And then I have to get creative with how I spend my evening with my families, because mom's going to bed at 9:30, and because I've got to get up at 5. So I share this to highlight, not from like a holier than thou, I'm going to do this forever. I don't know. But what I can tell you is that was the simple way for me, step by step, to go, okay, I'm going to get back on track in this one thing. With the realm of mindset, I love compounding habits. And so what this means is, while one thing is happening that I normally do on a daily basis, you add in a second habit stacking rather, not compounding. So when I am in the gym and I have earbuds in my ear, I am listening to something positive, because if my thoughts are thoughts about grief, for example, and things I should be stressing about, or my mom's preparations at her end of life, and oh my gosh, my mind can go everywhere with worry. I naturally err on the side of being anxious. So when I am in the gym, I am reminding myself that anything that is in my ears is designed for my mental body to outweigh the amount of negative propaganda that could possibly be up there kicking around between my ears. So I am listening to empowering things that are faith-based, or I'm listening to a great podcast where I'm learning a new skill or something that is motivating, and nothing that is there that is going to force me to overthink, because Lord knows I don't need to do any more overthinking. And then I'm getting in the movement, and I'm getting in that positive propaganda and setting my day up in a proper way, in a positive, in the black way. The same thing goes for the first thing when I'm out of bed. I'm often filling up water bottles for everybody and setting out vitamins and things on the counter before I go to the gym. And I am listening to the Bible on audio, or I'm listening to one of those podcasts, or some of each, or I'm in silence. But I mentally, with my mental body, need to consider, what do I need in this moment? And that is how I'm setting up myself. And that is part of my baseline. What can be in my ears that's going to build up my mental positivity and get me closer to that and farther away from that natural state of anxiety that I could lean toward if I'm not careful. And then that brings me to my third area, which is the spiritual body. Because remember, I said my emotional body was going to be all over the place. So physical I spoke about, mental I spoke about, and spiritual for me, I have to keep very simple, because I'm not a religious person. I'm a person who follows scripture. I said this in my other episode. And what I do want to say, however, is I still have this ability to judge if I am, based on religion, doing faith correctly, and to make sure that I'm staying away from that self-judgment and not leading myself in that direction. I give myself something simple to do on a daily basis that reminds me to stay connected to my faith. So that can look like, lately, yes, still praying with my family before we go to bed or before we have a meal. In recent weeks, I've had more evenings where after I get in bed and I turn the light off, I will sit there for, 3 to 5 minutes and close my eyes and breathe and have a moment where I am praying, meditating, being, grateful to God for the blessings and for the guidance and asking for what I need. And it's different all the time, but I'm taking a conscious moment to sit and be still and know that God is God and that God is in control. And that has to be enough for me. Yes, I'm still also opening my YouVersion app, the Bible app, and listening to a story on there for about 2 minutes a day. So that adds all up in time. And I do have my many, many days where I'm in the Word, either in my audio, which is my preferred form. I listen best before I paper best. And I'm keeping it simple because to me, I know that if I can take the action to have my mindset, my mental body, my physical body, and my spiritual body just have some attention paid to each on a daily basis, that is going to support me in getting back on track. That supports me in reminding myself on a daily basis who I am and what I am capable of to live my best life possible, to be a humble servant to others using the gifts that God bestowed upon me. And you can do that too. You can. You absolutely can. And that's why I'm sharing this. I think simplicity is so powerful. Getting back to basics is so powerful. And though I might mention 2 or 3 action items I'm doing for each area, narrow it down to 1 if even that seems really overwhelming. You might have very little kids. You might be going through a massive transition in a relationship or with your job or something else. Life is happening. And if you are anywhere around middle age, which is probably a number of us, there's a lot going on. We are this sandwich generation where we're raising people and we're raising the people who raised us sometimes. And there is a lot of choices, a lot of decisions. And the best way to lead those people in our life is to find ways to lead ourselves. Personal growth, personal development, looking inward, being honest with ourselves about how we can grow and what we can do. It goes a really long way, and it doesn't have to take oodles and oodles of time. I truly hope that this helped you out. I would love to know what's something that you do to get yourself back on track, to get to your baseline. Chat me up. Tell me, what is your baseline? Is it like mine or is it something totally different? And until next time, I'll talk to you next time. Thanks for listening. I'm high-fiving you right now because I'm so proud of you for putting your personal growth first. Remember, I believe in you, and with faith-filled intention and committed actions, you can lead your life, purpose, and family to wherever you dream possible. If you enjoyed this episode, it would mean so much to me if you'd take 30 seconds to help others discover the show. Leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, share the show with your friends and family, or screenshot this episode to your Instagram stories and tag me at the Holly Hibbard. Remember, you're not alone in this journey. I'm always here cheering you on, and until next time, stay curious, remain encouraged, and keep empowering yourself. You're doing better than you think, I promise.